Right, today I'm going to be talking about processing fuels and particularly vegetable oils. So what we've got here is my Z4000 fuel processor, homemade thing. So we're going to start talking about that. But before you get one of these, you need a vehicle that will run on the stuff. Really, what you need is an old classic vehicle, obviously with a diesel engine. What I found is there's this wonderful book by a guy called Woodall. Woodall's Guide, Useful Classic Vehicles. He's a bit of a weirdo, the guy who wrote it, but it's full of all sorts of un-PC stuff. Yeah, it's quite fun this, and full of fascinating vehicles, a lot which will run your unusual fuels. So you need one of these, you need that, you got that. Right, next thing you need is a shopping trolley. And where do we get a shopping trolley from? Well, everyone knows you want a nice scuzzy canal, the kind of place where you might find, I don't know, dead puppies in a bag. Yeah, well that's the sort of place you find one of these. So you drag your old shopping trolley out, give it a wash, because you get what's it called? Vials disease in canal. You don't want that, so give it a nice wash. So we've got one of those, and next we move on to the receptacle. This is the receptacle, and this is, I like to go for a 100 litre one. The 100 litre one is so that it's portable. Look, we can roll it about, and in the event of a fire, which unfortunately has happened to me, what happened there was I had the immersion heater on without any fuel in it, and it caught fire. You don't want that, and if that does happen, you can run it outside and away. And also, when you're doing fuel, try and avoid doing it indoors. They give off very nasty fumes. So there we go. Right, we'll go into more details. Okay, so we've got our receptacle. I've gone for 100 litres because it's nice portable size. Bought that off eBay, I think, what was it, about 70 quid? May have been 100, I can't remember. Anyway, they're not too bad. Go for good quality because you don't want leaks and stuff. So what we've done, we shoved in an immersion heater. This is a straightforward immersion heater of just a water boiler. I've gone for a 3 kilowatt one. That's perfectly adequate. And a nice analogue gauge. I like analogue things because they don't go wrong, and when they do, they're easier to understand. So we've gone for that. And now up the top section, we have a straightforward cooking sieve. And what this is useful for is for catching, what have I got? I've got a bit of straw in here. You might have a dead rodent, all sorts of things. It catches it. So you want one of those. And then I've attached this to a 100 micron sock. Now 100 micron sock is what can be found on eBay. They cost a couple of quid, and that's brilliant for filtering the stuff out. So we've got that in there. And then what we've got, I told you we've got the immersion heater. The idea of the immersion heater is to heat the fuels up, because we're going to use some different fuels, combine them, heat them up to what we're looking for is 60 degrees. And at 60 degrees, the stuff really nicely combines and stays combined. And that's crucial because if we're going to be running our vegetables at lower temperatures, we want things to stop them sludging. And normally it does sludge. And when it sludges, it goes straight into your injector pump and it just wrecks everything. And indeed, there's an engine over here, and that is exactly what's happened to that. That engine is just useless. It's full of sludge. Injector pump has been wrecked. It probably needs a rebuild. Not worth the time. So we don't want that to happen. So what are we going to shove in here? Well, what we're going to shove in here is vegetable oil, and we want good quality vegetable oil. Really old stuff turns very acidic, so acidic that the actual metal cans it comes in can often dissolve and they start rotting out. Not good. Another problem with vegetable oil is rodents. Rodents will gnaw the cans off it and get stuff. They love it, so beware of that. Big problem, rodents. So we've got vegetable oil. What else can we use? Well, what I find is brilliant is stuff called misfuel. What misfuel is where somebody's put the wrong fuel in their car. It was a diesel car, and they're going to shove it. They're going to fill it out with petrol, and then the recovery firm has to recover the car and drain it. And then the recovery firm has got this fuel they can't use. Often they'll have it. They'll give it to you for nothing. The problem you face with this stuff is you don't know the ratio of how much diesel or petrol it's got with it. The way to find this out is to weigh it, and you can get a rough idea. I find normally it's about 80% petrol. Now this stuff, if you combine it with the vegetable and heat it up, it stops it sludging up in winter. So it's very, very good stuff. Vary the ratios depending on whether you're running it summer or winter. The other thing you can use is sump oil. Now, engine sump oil, brilliant stuff. I mean, used engine sump oil, but there's a problem. There's a problem that in Britain, if you get pulled over by the police or those or anything else, they will wrongly assume that you are running red diesel and you've used the sump oil to cover up the colour of red diesel. Little bit unfair that. So what I'd advise is don't use your vehicle on the road if you're running sump oil. You're better to use sump oil mixes for generators and other things. Okay, so moving on to the Z4000 processor. We put our mix in. I suggest leaving it for at least a couple of weeks, maybe even a month. And the reason for that is to let the sludge, and particularly water, accumulate at the bottom. And after you've done that, you want to drain the stuff off. There's a valve at the bottom with a bucket, and yeah, get rid of that stuff. You don't want water in your mix, and you don't want sludge. So we've done all that. Oh, excuse me. And now what we do is we go for actually filtering the stuff. So what we've got here is a 50 micron filter, a 25 micron filter, a 10 micron filter, a 5 micron filter, and a 2 micron filter. Idea of all these filters is that we can get a fine mix, in fact finer than normal diesel. So this is ideal. This is very good for running your vehicle, okay? And what I've got for here is containers. Now these they're water filter container things. The see-through ones I like, but I find they sometimes get cracks in them. So I've actually gone for a much heavier duty one here. Don't buy cheap with these things. In fact, don't buy cheap with any fittings at all. I tried plastic fittings and they all leaked and were just complete rubbish. Go for solid metal or brass. Can't go wrong with that. So then we're ready to shove the mix in the car. I've gone for, I don't know, your conventional nozzle here, and shove it into your car, switch on the pump, and the other thing I've gone for is an automatic electric switch off. Why you have this is, like I said before, things catch fire, things go wrong and things go bang. So you don't want that, so this I use cheap thing from Maplin's, just on and off, and I can do it remotely. Lovely. So done that, filled it up. What other features have we got? Well, we've got back flush. Now what's back flush? It's not something naughty. What back flush is this enables us to not buy lots of filters. So what we do is we've got an empty container here, give it a wash out, and shove some more mess fuel in, and then turn the pump so fuel isn't going into the filters that way, it's going into the filters this way, and it back flushes it out. And it's not an enema thing, this is just a tube, and that goes into a bucket, and you turn the pump and you've cleaned out all your filters. Lovely. So there's another use. So very brief introduction to fuel processing, and I haven't gone into much detail, but that gives you a very, very brief idea of the Z4000 processor. There we go. Thank you.